I was kicked out of my daughter's life. Then I revealed her fiancé's lies. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. I was halfway up the church steps when the usher with the earpiece barred my way like I was a stranger trying to crash a celebrity funeral. "Sir, the bride asked that you not attend." He didn't blink when he said it. Didn't even flinch when I answered, "I'm the bride's father." There were lilies everywhere, white ribbons like little halos, and my daughter's laughter floating out from the vestibule. Thin, high, practiced. I used to know which laugh meant joy and which meant she was pretending not to be scared. Today it sounded like porcelain clinking. "Grace," I called through the open door, ignoring the hand on my chest. "Pumpkin, it's Dad." Shoes stopped scuffing. Someone hissed. Then Lucas, immaculate tux, movie star jaw, eyes that never stayed with you long enough to tell the truth, stepped between me and my own child. "Mr. Hale," he said, using my last name like it was a warning label. We agreed. No, we didn't. He agreed with himself and presented it like scripture. A month ago, he'd cornered me in my driveway and said I was a destabilizing presence, that my episodes would ruin their day. By episodes, he meant the night I asked about his consulting firm and why his LinkedIn history looked like a graveyard of 6-month jobs. He told Grace I was jealous. He told her I drank. He told her I'd threatened him because I wouldn't shake the hand that kept tallying my daughter like inventory. A rustle of chiffon, and there she was. My little girl in a dress that made the whole aisle inhale. "Dad," she said, not meeting my eyes. "Please don't make a scene." I felt the old earthquake, regret cracking down my ribs, memories of missed recitals and texts I typed and never sent. I should have come with proof. I should have brought the man from the hardware store who said Lucas used a different surname last year. I should have printed the email from Carter Lang with the same phone number as Lucas's company. Instead, I brought my hands open. "I love you," I said, "and he's lying to you." Lucas smiled, fatherly, to the crowd. "This is what I warned you about." Security moved. The usher's grip tightened. Grace flinched like I'd reached for her veil. They escorted me out past guests who stared at their programs like they could will themselves into another wedding. On the sidewalk, the bells began. 3 hours later, a text dinged my phone from a blocked number. "You were right. Check the county records for Carter Lang. Start with the warrants." Then the church doors opened, and the man from the warrant walked in. The text rattled around my skull like a marble in a jar. "You were right. County records. Carter Lang, warrants." I didn't go home. I drove straight to the courthouse with my tie loose and my hands shaking, the bells from Grace's wedding still clanging in my rear view like an accusation. The county records office smelled like paper dust and stale coffee. Fluorescents buzzed. A clerk with jangling bracelets glanced at my suit like I'd missed the after-party. "Public records are searchable at the terminals," she said, nodding toward a row of old computers that hummed like vending machines. I typed with the steadiness of a rookie defusing a bomb. "Carter Lang." Results bloomed. A dissolved LLC. 2 small claims judgments. A protective order filed last year by someone named Marina S. in a neighboring county. Language about threats, coercion, and misrepresentation. Then a bench warrant. Failure to appear on charges related to fraudulent business filings. The address on one document wasn't Lucas's condo, but the phone number was the same as his consulting firm. My stomach sat down hard. I printed everything. On the way out, the clerk said, "You didn't hear it from me, but check the notary number on those filings." I looked. Notary number 8743, signature elegantly looped, dated 2021. A quick search. My breath caught. The notary had died in 2019. I called the blocked number. It rang once. A voice answered, low and careful. "If you want your daughter back, listen." I stepped into a stairwell that smelled like raincoats. "Who are you?" I asked. Silence. Then, "He uses Carter when he's cornered. He'll slip tonight. He always does. Watch the money. Subscription transfers, cash apps, the honeymoon fund." The line clicked dead. By the time I reached the hotel hosting the reception, the sky had gone the color of wet slate. I slipped in through the service corridor, past waiters ferrying towers of champagne. Laughter swelled, and with it, my shame. I had been barred from the day I'd once promised her mother I wouldn't miss. Now I was skulking like a thief, clutching paper like a talisman. I found him on the terrace, back to the city lights, phone to his ear, voice pitched for privacy. I edged closer behind a palm. No, it's done, he said, all silk. The Hale situation is handled. After the honeymoon, we move the accounts. A pause. Yes, Carter is clean here. I hit record. A couple drifted out, laughing, the woman wobbling in high heels. Lucas, Carter, pocketed his phone and stepped inside, brushing past me without seeing. My hands shook so hard I almost dropped the folder. Mr. Hale, a woman's voice said. I turned. Dark hair pinned brutally tight, a bruised yellow fatigue under sharp cheekbones. She held herself like she'd been waiting to be believed for a very long time. You texted me, I said. She looked past me, into the ballroom where my daughter was cutting a cake with a man who wasn't real. Her eyes met mine. I'm not his ex, Mr. Hale. I'm his legally wedded wife. For a moment, I thought I'd misheard her. The music from the ballroom muffled everything. The clink of glasses, a DJ spinning a safe, romantic ballad. But her words cut straight through. His wife. I rasped. She nodded, lips pressed tight. Marina Santiago. Married him 3 years ago under the name Carter Lang. He drained my savings, left me with debt collectors at my door. And then he disappeared. My knees felt weak. You're saying he's still legally married to you? Her eyes didn't waver. Check the county records in Brenton. Our marriage certificate is there. He never filed for divorce. Which means if he's marrying your daughter. She paused, pain flashing across her face. It's bigamy. My chest felt like it was caving in. The humiliation of being shoved out of Grace's life was already unbearable, but now I realized she was cutting a cake with a man who belonged to someone else, on paper and in blood. Marina clutched her coat tighter. I tried to warn her. I even called, but he always gets there first. Twists the story. Makes you look unstable, obsessed. Did he tell her that about you? I swallowed hard. He said I was jealous, drunk, dangerous. She gave a bitter laugh. Classic Lucas. Or Carter. Or whatever name he's playing with this season. The DJ switched tracks, and the walls vibrated with bass. Inside, people cheered. I caught a glimpse of Grace on Lucas's arm. Her eyes lit up, face glowing with a joy that made me feel like I was watching her walk willingly into a burning house. I have proof, Marina whispered, pulling a phone from her bag. Dozens of photos. Her and Lucas at a registry office, on vacations, in a rented house with cheap furniture. Smiles plastered on his face that I now recognized as performance. I wanted to scream, to barge into that ballroom and drag my daughter away. But Marina's hand gripped my wrist. Not yet, she said. If you go in without a plan, he'll bury you. He's done it before. Her phone buzzed. A text notification flashed across the cracked screen. She froze, then showed me. Unknown number. He knows you're here. Leave now, or your daughter pays the price. My throat went dry. Who sent that? Marina's face drained of color. One of his people. He never works alone. And then, through the glass doors of the terrace, Lucas's eyes found mine. Not angry, not surprised, just smiling, like he'd been waiting for this exact moment. That smile froze me. It wasn't the grin of a groom whose secret was about to unravel. It was a dare. Lucas tilted his champagne flute in my direction, as though toasting my failure, then turned back to whisper something in Grace's ear. She laughed, radiant and oblivious, while I stood outside in the shadows with the woman who claimed to be his wife. Marina's grip on my wrist tightened. We need to go, she hissed. Now. But I couldn't move. My daughter's laughter, sweet, innocent, fragile, was like a chain anchoring me to the spot. If I walk away again, I muttered, she'll never forgive me when this comes out. Marina scanned the terrace nervously. You don't understand. He doesn't just ruin people financially. He destroys them. He has friends, dangerous ones, people who owe him favors. I finally tore my eyes from Grace. Then why warn me at all? Her jaw clenched. Because I was her once. Blind, in love, ready to give him everything. I can't watch another woman lose everything because of him. The ballroom doors burst open, and one of the groomsmen staggered out, flushed and drunk. He glanced at us, squinting like he wasn't sure what he'd seen, then stumbled off toward the restrooms. For a heartbeat, I thought he might expose us, but no. He was too lost in his own haze. Marina exhaled shakily. We need leverage. Proof that even he can't talk his way out of. Something undeniable. I pulled the folder of records from my jacket, shoving them into her hands. Is this enough? She skimmed the warrants, the fake notary, the judgments. Her eyes widened. It's a start. But he'll claim clerical errors, identity theft. He's done it before. We need something live. Something they can't call a misunderstanding. From inside, I heard Lucas raising his voice in a toast. Applause thundered. My daughter's name rang out like a hymn. That was when Marina's phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a threat. It was a photo. Grainy, low light, clearly taken tonight. It showed me and Marina on the terrace, heads close together, documents in her hand. The caption underneath chilled my blood. One word from me, and she'll think you're the liar. Marina's hands trembled as she turned the screen toward me. He's already framing you. I looked back through the glass, and Lucas's smile was wider now, predatory, as if he'd already won the first battle. And then Grace glanced at her phone, and her face went white. I watched the color drain from Grace's face as she read whatever message Lucas had planted. Her eyes darted up, scanning the ballroom until they landed on me through the glass doors. For one terrifying second, our gazes locked. She didn't see her father. She saw a stranger caught in the act. Lucas leaned in, whispering into her ear, his hand sliding protectively around her waist like he was shielding her from a predator. My blood boiled. That was my role, always had been. The man who carried her when she scraped her knee, the man who taught her to ride a bike, the man who promised her mother he would keep her safe no matter what. And now, I was the villain in her story. Marina tugged at my arm. We have to leave. He's flipping the narrative as we stand here. But I couldn't move. If I run now, she'll never believe me. I have to stay. The ballroom doors opened again, this time with Grace storming out, her phone clenched like a weapon. Her eyes were glassy, brimming with tears, but her voice cut sharp as glass. Dad, what the hell are you doing here? Grace, listen to me. No. Her voice cracked. Guests had started drifting toward the terrace, drawn by the commotion. First, you tried to ruin my wedding, and now this. She held up her phone, showing me the photo of Marina and me together, plotting with some woman to smear Lucas. Marina stepped forward, her voice trembling but firm. I'm not some woman. I'm his wife. The silence that followed was suffocating. Gasps from the onlookers. Someone muttered, "Is she serious?" Grace blinked, confusion colliding with fury. "That's impossible," she whispered. Lucas appeared then, immaculate and calm, like a man stepping into a play he'd already rehearsed. "Sweetheart, she's lying. She's been stalking me for years. And your father? He's desperate. He'll say anything to get between us." Grace shook her head, retreating into Lucas's arms, the one place she thought was safe. I stepped forward, my voice breaking. "Pumpkin, please. Just look at the records. The warrants. The marriage license. It's all real." But Lucas was faster. He raised his phone, displaying an email, fake, no doubt, with a subject line that read, "Offer to ruin Lucas Hale's reputation, $10,000 cash." And the sender's name? Mine. Grace's hand flew to her mouth. She stared at me as though she didn't recognize me at all. "Dad?" she whispered, shaking her head. "How could you?" And just like that, the terrace erupted, guests whispering, cameras flashing, rumors catching like wildfire. Lucas leaned close enough that only I could hear him. His voice was silk wrapped around a blade. "Checkmate, old man. Unless you want your daughter destroyed, you'll disappear. Tonight." But then Marina's phone buzzed once more. She looked down, her eyes widening. "No," she whispered. "He slipped. He just made a mistake." The message glowed on her screen. "Transfer complete. Brenton Savings. Account number 4427. Honeymoon fund secured. Carter." Marina shoved the phone into my hand, her voice urgent. "Do you see it? He signed it Carter. He slipped." I stared at the glowing message. My pulse hammered so hard I could feel it in my teeth. For weeks I'd been dismissed as paranoid, unstable, bitter. Now I was holding the very thing that could unravel him. A transfer to an account that wasn't joint with my daughter. Money funneled into a secret stash under a false name. But Grace was still trembling in his arms, her eyes wet and bewildered. "Dad, please stop. You're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing me." "Lucas." "No." Carter stroked her back, calm as a saint. "It's okay, Grace. He's just unwell." He shot me a glance so subtle only I could catch it. A silent threat. "Try me, and she'll suffer." Marina squared her shoulders. "Grace," she said, her voice cutting through the crowd. 3 years ago, I married him. Legally. Under the name Carter Lang. He drained me dry and left me with nothing but creditors at my door. That message proves he's still using the name. He didn't even bother to hide it. Grace's gaze flicked to the phone in my hand. For the first time all night, doubt clouded her blind loyalty. "Lucas," she whispered. He laughed, smooth and dismissive. "Sweetheart, anyone can fake a text. Don't you see? They're working together to destroy us. It's pathetic." My jaw clenched. "Then explain the bank account. Explain the name Carter Lang on active warrants. Explain your wife standing right here." The guests had closed in now, whispering, phones raised, some filming outright. The story was no longer confined to this ballroom. It was already spreading. Lucas's mask flickered, just for a heartbeat. A tick at the corner of his jaw, a flash of something raw in his eyes. He was calculating. We had him cornered, and he knew it. But men like him didn't collapse. They struck harder. "Enough," he snapped, startling Grace. He stepped forward, jabbing a finger at Marina. "This woman is delusional. I left her years ago because she became violent. Obsessed. She's been following me ever since. Ask anyone in Brenton. She's notorious." Marina's hands shook, but her voice didn't falter. "Ask the court records. Ask the creditors. Ask the police why there's a warrant for Carter Lang." Gasps rippled through the guests. Grace's face paled further, torn between the man she thought she loved and the evidence pressing in on all sides. That's when my phone buzzed again. I glanced down. A new message from the same block number that had first warned me. "If you want the truth, meet me in the parking garage. Level 3. Come alone." I looked up just as Lucas's phone vibrated in his pocket. He checked it, smirked, and excused himself from the circle of onlookers. He was heading for the exit, and I realized with a cold certainty, whoever was waiting in that garage wasn't just waiting for me. They were waiting for him. I slipped out the side door before anyone could stop me, heart pounding with the weight of every misstep I'd ever made as a father. The night air hit me like cold steel, sharp and unyielding. The hotel's parking garage loomed across the street, concrete, dimly lit, each level stacked like secrets waiting to collapse. Level 3. Come alone. I told myself I was walking into a trap, that it could be one of Lucas's thugs, or worse, another ploy to make me look unstable. But something in my gut, something older than reason, pushed me forward. The garage smelled of gasoline and damp concrete. My footsteps echoed against the emptiness, every shadow stretched long by the flickering fluorescence overhead. A lone car idled near the far corner, its headlights off, engine humming low. My throat tightened. "Mr. Hale?" A voice called from the darkness. Male, rough around the edges, but not threatening, yet. I stepped closer. A figure emerged from behind the car, a man in a rumpled jacket, mid-40s, eyes darting like he hadn't slept in days. He held a manila envelope against his chest, as if it were a life preserver. "Who are you?" I demanded. "Name's Avery. Used to work with Carter, Lucas, whatever he's calling himself now." He tossed the envelope onto the hood. "I got tired of being his cleanup man. Thought you deserved to know what your daughter's marrying." I opened the envelope. Inside were contracts, bank transfers, fake IDs, whole lives created and discarded like costumes. Photos, too. Lucas with different women, Lucas with Marina, Lucas at casinos under yet another alias. But one document made my blood run cold. A forged death certificate for a man named Daniel Ross. "He's not just a con," Avery said, voice low. "He fakes deaths, collects insurance, moves on." I signed off on some of it. God help me, I did. The echo of footsteps snapped both our heads toward the ramp. Lucas was there, stepping into the dim light with that same wolfish calm. "Avery," he drawled. "I should have known you'd fold." My fists clenched. "You bastard. You've been playing my daughter, playing all of us." Lucas didn't flinch. "I warned you, old man. You should have stayed out of it." He flicked his gaze at Avery. "And you? You just signed your death warrant." Avery backed away, panic flickering across his face. "I kept copies, Lucas. Insurance. If anything happens to me, they'll go straight to the feds." Lucas's smile vanished. His eyes went flat, calculating. Then he reached into his jacket. For the first time all night, I realized just how far he'd go to protect his lies. And that was when a voice rang out from the shadows. Firm, female, shaking but determined. "Drop it, Lucas. Or I swear to God, I'll tell her everything right here, right now. Grace stepped into the flickering light, her wedding dress trailing across the grimy concrete floor. Grace's silhouette looked almost otherworldly against the fluorescent haze, lace and tulle glowing ghost pale in the dim garage. Her heels clicked across the concrete, echoing like a countdown. My heart surged with both pride and terror. Grace, I whispered, throat tight. You shouldn't be here. Her eyes never left Lucas. I followed you. Both of you. She lifted her phone, recording. I heard everything. Lucas straightened, his hand frozen halfway inside his jacket. Then, like a magician caught mid-trick, he slid it out slowly, revealing not a gun but a sleek leather wallet. He flashed a grin. You've misunderstood, sweetheart. I was just reaching for this. He flipped it open to show his driver's license. Lucas Hale. Perfectly laminated. Perfectly clean. Grace's eyes narrowed, uncertainty clouding her fury. Lucas stepped closer, voice silk-wrapped steel. They've been feeding you lies. Look at your father, dragging you into garages, conspiring with a washed-up drunk and a bitter ex. Does that sound like protection to you? Or desperation? I lunged forward, thrusting Avery's envelope into her hands. Look at the names: Pumpkin, Carter Lang, Daniel Ross. He's faked lives, faked deaths. He's not who you think he is. She hesitated, flipping through the documents, her hands trembling. Photos of Lucas with Marina. Bank records. Fake IDs. Her lips parted as if she wanted to speak, but Lucas was already there, his hand closing gently over hers. Grace, he murmured, so tender it made me sick. They forged these. Don't you see? It's a setup. They want to ruin us because they can't stand to see you happy. Her gaze flicked between us, trapped in the gravity of two worlds, her father's desperate pleas and her fiancé's soothing lies. The tension stretched thin as glass. Then Avery spoke, voice cracking with guilt. Grace, I was his partner. I signed off on his scams. It's real. Every damn page. Lucas's mask slipped. His jaw clenched, and the hand on Grace's wrist tightened. For the first time, she flinched. She started, but her phone buzzed violently in her other hand. She glanced down. Her breath caught. A video had been sent from an anonymous number. Lucas, in a smoky backroom, counting stacks of cash with two men whose faces were half hidden. His voice on the recording was unmistakable. Once I'm in with the Hale girl, her father's out of the picture for good. The inheritance, the assets, it's all ours. Grace's face crumpled as the last of her illusions shattered. Tears spilled down her cheeks, dark streaks cutting through her makeup. She turned to him, her voice breaking. You were using me? Lucas's eyes went cold. No smile now, no charm. Just raw menace. Of course I was. And you're too late to stop it. He snatched her phone, hurled it against the concrete, shattering it into pieces. The echo of it rang like a gunshot. Then, in the heavy silence, Lucas hissed words that chilled me to the bone. If I can't have you, Grace, no one will. The words hung in the stale garage air like poison. Grace froze, her breath catching, her veil trembling in the draft. For the first time that night, I saw her truly see him. Not the polished fiancé, not the charming savior, but the predator beneath the mask. Lucas, she whispered, voice splintering. No, Carter, whoever you are, you're scaring me. He sneered, stepping closer, his polished shoes scraping against the concrete. You think you're scared now? You haven't seen scared. That was enough. Instinct roared in my chest. I shoved myself between them, hands outstretched. Over my dead body. He laughed, low and bitter. That can be arranged. His hand darted toward his jacket again. But before he could pull whatever was hidden there, Avery lunged. Years of fear turned into one reckless burst of courage. He slammed into Lucas, both men crashing against a parked car. The metallic clang echoed through the garage as the alarm wailed, red lights pulsing across the walls. Grace screamed. Marina grabbed her arm, dragging her backward. Stay behind us. Lucas fought like a cornered animal. He kneed Avery hard, breaking free, and ripped something from his jacket. A knife, blade catching the red glare of the alarm. My stomach turned cold. Dad, Grace shrieked. I grabbed the nearest thing I could, an old tire iron leaning against the wall. My grip was slick with sweat, but I raised it anyway, my whole body shaking. Lucas's eyes locked on me, his grin feral. Let's finish this. He lunged, blade slashing. I swung with everything I had. Steel met steel, sparks scraping. The impact rattled my bones, but I held my ground. You lied to her. I roared, the garage ringing with every word. You stole from her, and you will never touch her again. For a moment, the world shrank to the two of us. His blade, my tire iron, the sound of Grace's sobs behind me. Avery staggered up, bleeding from his lip, but still standing, ready to dive back in. Marina clutched her phone, thumb trembling over the call button. Then headlights flared at the far end of the garage. A car engine revved, tires squealing as it sped toward us. Lucas's grin widened. My ride's here. The black SUV barreled closer, its windows tinted, its intent unmistakable. And in that split second, I realized with horror, it wasn't slowing down. It was aiming straight for Grace. Time slowed to a crawl. The SUV's engine howled, its headlights searing through the gloom like twin spotlights of doom. Grace stood frozen in her white gown, a trembling statue in the path of destruction. Move! I bellowed, surging forward. My shoulder slammed into hers, sending her sprawling behind a concrete pillar just as the vehicle roared past. The blast of wind and exhaust scorched my lungs. Metal screamed against concrete as the SUV clipped a support beam, sparks spraying like fireworks. Tires squealed, the driver jerking the wheel to recover. For one wild second, I thought it might slam into us again. But instead, it skidded sideways, braked hard, and the back door flew open. Lucas sprinted toward it, knife still gleaming. He didn't even look back at Grace. Didn't hesitate. Didn't care. Stop him, Marina shouted, her voice ragged with rage. Avery staggered forward, blocking Lucas's path. You're not running this time, he spat, swinging wildly. Lucas ducked, slashing upward. The knife tore across Avery's arm, a dark stain blooming instantly. Avery howled in pain but didn't drop. He grappled Lucas with his good arm, locking him in place. I saw the opening. Adrenaline surged. I raised the tire iron and charged. But Lucas twisted at the last second, shoving Avery into me. We all collapsed in a heap as the SUV's driver leaned on the horn, the sound splitting the garage into chaos. Grace's scream cut through it all. Dad! I scrambled to my feet, blood pounding in my ears. Lucas had broken free, one foot already in the SUV. His face glistened with sweat, his grin manic. This isn't over, he snarled. And then, bang. A gunshot cracked through the garage. For a heartbeat, no one moved. The sound echoed into forever. Lucas staggered, his knife clattering to the concrete. His eyes went wide, not with pain, but shock. He touched his side, fingers coming away red. Slowly, his gaze lifted toward the source of the shot. Grace stood behind us, her hands trembling around a small silver revolver. One I recognized instantly. It had been mine, locked in a safe for years. Her voice shook, but her words carried steel. You're not taking another step. Lucas swayed on his feet, laughter bubbling past his lips even as blood seeped through his tuxedo. You think a little bullet can stop me? He rasped. He lurched forward, toward her, and I realized with a sick certainty that my daughter, on her wedding night, might have to choose between pulling the trigger again or being dragged into the abyss with him. Grace's hands trembled so violently the revolver shook like a leaf in a storm. The ivory fabric of her gown was already stained, tiny flecks of crimson where Lucas's blood had sprayed. She looked like an angel trapped in a nightmare. Stay back, she cried, her voice echoing through the cavernous garage. Lucas staggered closer, clutching his side, grinning through the blood. You won't shoot me again. You love me. You need me. His words dripped poison, the same venom that had convinced her to cut me from her life. I stepped between them, raising the tire iron once more. Grace, listen to me. Don't let him pull you down with him. He'll never stop lying. Lucas sneered, his voice rising, desperate now. And what about him? He jabbed a bloody finger at me. Your father, the man who walked out on you, who couldn't protect you when your mother died. He abandoned you, Grace. I was the one who stayed. Grace's breath hitched. Tears blurred her mascara, streaking down her pale cheeks. Stop, she whispered. Stop twisting everything. Behind me, Avery leaned against a pillar, clutching his bleeding arm, his voice hoarse. Don't believe him, Grace. He said the same things to Marina. To me. Everyone's disposable to him. Marina stepped forward too, voice trembling but resolute. He promised me forever. The only forever he gives is ruin. Lucas's face contorted, the charming mask cracking wide open. His eyes burned with raw hatred. You all think you've won? You think exposing me changes anything? I'll drag you all down with me. Every last one of you. He lunged. Grace screamed. Instinct surged in me again, primal and unstoppable. I swung the tire iron, the metal ringing as it smashed across his arm. The knife he'd reclaimed clattered away into the shadows. Lucas collapsed to one knee, blood pooling beneath him, his breath ragged. And yet he laughed, low, guttural, unhinged. This isn't the end. You don't know who I work for. You don't know what's coming. Then, with a final burst of strength, he lunged not at me, but at Grace. Her fingers squeezed the trigger. The revolver roared. Lucas's body jerked, then crumpled onto the concrete, his blood spreading fast, a grotesque halo around him. His eyes, wide and glassy, stared at nothing. Grace dropped the gun, her sobs ripping through the silence. She fell to her knees, white lace soaking in crimson, hands clutching her face. I rushed to her side, pulling her into my arms, whispering, "It's over, Pumpkin. It's over." But even as I held her, Marina knelt beside Lucas's body, her expression grim. She pressed 2 fingers to his neck, then looked at me with eyes full of something darker than grief. "He wasn't lying," she whispered. "This man, he answered to someone else. And they won't let him stay dead." The garage was thick with the stench of burnt gunpowder and iron. Grace trembled in my arms, her sobs muffled against my chest. Every fatherly instinct screamed to shield her from the sight of Lucas's lifeless body sprawled across the concrete. But Marina's words sliced through the haze. "They won't let him stay dead." I looked up sharply. "What do you mean?" Her face was pale but steady, hardened by scars I couldn't see. Lucas wasn't just a con man working alone. He was a cog in a machine, a network. Insurance scams, false identities, shell corporations. He had protection. If he's gone, they'll come looking for what he knew. And they'll come for anyone tied to him. Grace's body stiffened. She pulled away from me, mascara streaking her cheeks. "You're saying this doesn't end here?" Avery groaned, clutching his wounded arm. "She's right. I saw glimpses of it. Meetings in backrooms, briefcases exchanged. Men who never gave names. Lucas, Carter, he bragged once that he was just a small player in something much bigger. He spit blood onto the concrete. If they find out he slipped up, they'll erase every witness." A chill ran down my spine. Every instinct told me to get Grace out of here now, to run until her gown was shredded and her feet bled. But even I knew you can't outrun shadows. Suddenly, the garage filled with the shriek of sirens. Red and blue lights painted the walls as police cruisers screeched to a halt outside. Uniformed officers poured in, weapons drawn, their voices thunderous. "Hands where we can see them." Grace clutched my arm, whispering, "Dad, what do we do?" Marina raised her hand slowly. "Tell them the truth. All of it." But Avery's laugh was bitter, hollow. "The truth? About fraudulent identities, fake deaths, and crime syndicates? They'll think we're insane. Or worse, they'll think we're part of it." An officer grabbed me, yanking my arms behind my back. Grace screamed, trying to run toward me, but another officer restrained her. Cameras flashed as someone muttered, "Bride shoots groom on wedding night." I wanted to shout, to explain, to protect my daughter from the spectacle, but my voice caught in my throat. The world tilted, lights blinding, questions firing like bullets. And just before they shoved me into the back of a cruiser, a plainclothes detective stepped forward, lifting a badge. His eyes locked on mine with unnerving calm. "Mr. Hale," he said quietly, almost kindly, "you're coming with us. We've been waiting a long time for this moment." I froze. "Waiting for me?" The detective's lips curved into a thin smile. "No, for him." He pointed toward Lucas's body. Then he leaned closer, his voice a whisper meant only for me. "And if you value your daughter's life, you'll tell us everything you know about the consortium." The cruiser door slammed behind me, sealing me inside with the detective. The air smelled of leather and stale coffee, and every nerve in my body screamed to fight, to escape, to get back to Grace. But the detective's eyes pinned me in place, gray, sharp, and carrying the weight of someone who already knew too much. "The consortium," he said again, low, deliberate. Lucas wasn't just a scam artist. He was an asset. Disposable. Replaceable. Men like him keep the bigger machine running: identity theft, money laundering, even political blackmail. And now that he's dead, his gaze flicked toward the chaos of flashing lights outside. You and your daughter are liabilities. My throat went dry. We're victims. He lied to us all. Why the hell would they come after us? The detective leaned back, crossing his arms. Because Grace pulled the trigger. And because you've been digging. Which means, whether you like it or not, you now know too much. Images of Grace's pale face, her gown soaked in crimson, tore at me. Then protect her. She's just a kid. She's an adult who married into a crime syndicate without realizing it. He cut in, voice sharp. And the only way she survives now is if you cooperate. The cruiser jolted into motion, carrying us away from the garage. Through the window, I caught a glimpse of Grace pressed against another police car, Marina by her side, both of them surrounded by flashing cameras. Reporters were already swarming. My daughter's wedding day had become national news. What do you want from me? I asked, forcing my voice steady. The detective's gaze hardened. Every detail you've uncovered. Every document. Every conversation. You're not the first parent to stumble onto the consortium's games, but you might be the first to survive long enough to expose them. I thought of Avery's envelope, the fake IDs, the transfer slip signed Carter. Enough breadcrumbs to build a trail. Enough to burn us alive if it fell into the wrong hands. And if I refuse? I asked. The detective's lips curved into a grim smile. Then you'll be the next obituary they fake. The car swerved suddenly, tires screeching. The driver cursed, wrestling the wheel as another vehicle slammed into us from the side. My head cracked against the window, stars exploding across my vision. Ambush! The detective shouted, reaching for his weapon. Through the spiderweb glass, I saw it. The same black SUV from the garage, roaring alongside us, its windows rolling down. Masked figures inside raised their guns, muzzles flashing in the night. Bullets tore through metal and glass as the cruiser spun out of control. And in that split second before everything turned upside down, I understood one terrifying truth. Lucas was just the beginning. The cruiser spun like a toy, metal screaming, glass shattering around me in a storm of sparks and bullets. My head slammed against the seat, my chest seized with panic. The world became a kaleidoscope of lights, red, blue, white, and the muzzle flashes tearing through the night. Down, the detective roared, yanking me to the floorboard as the SUV rammed us again. My shoulder cracked against the console, pain exploding through my body. Gunfire chewed into the cruiser's side. The driver slumped forward, blood spraying the windshield, the wheel wrenching free from his grip. We skidded hard, the tires shrieking. My stomach lurched as the car flipped, metal twisting, the roof crunching into the asphalt. I tasted blood, hot and metallic. We landed on our side, sirens warbling in the distance, glass crunching under every breath. For a moment, everything was silent except for the hiss of leaking fuel. Then boots pounded against the wreck. Dark figures swarmed, black masks, black rifles, voices barking orders in a language I didn't recognize. One of them yanked the back door open, tearing it off its hinges. Out! A voice growled, cold and clipped. Hands grabbed me, dragging me across broken glass. My knees shredded against the asphalt. The detective struggled beside me, his gun drawn but quickly kicked away. I craned my neck toward the SUV, and my heart stopped. Lucas's body wasn't there. The sheet they'd covered him with back in the garage, the bloodied, lifeless shell I thought was over, was gone. One of the masked men shoved a photo in my face, grainy, printed, but unmistakable. Grace, my daughter. Her wedding gown now splattered in red, her eyes wide with terror. The man's voice cut like a blade. You give us what Carter had, or she disappears. The detective spat blood, defiant. You idiots, he's dead. Whatever he owed you burned with him. The man's grip on me tightened, lifting me half off the ground. His eyes, the only visible part of his face, glittered with malice. Then you'd better pray we find another use for you. A van door slammed open. They started to drag me toward it. My vision blurred, adrenaline and terror colliding in my veins. I twisted, desperate, searching for anything, any way out. That's when I saw it. Avery, limping out of the shadows, bloodied but alive, clutching something against his chest. A laptop, battered, dented but glowing faintly. His voice rang out, hoarse but strong. Looking for Carter's files? Then you want me. Every masked head turned toward him, and I realized in that razor's edge moment that Avery had just made himself the bait. The masked men froze, rifles snapping toward Avery. The glow of the laptop screen painted his battered face, defiant despite the blood dripping down his jaw. You kill him, Avery shouted, pointing at me. You lose everything Carter left behind. But me? I'm the only one who knows how to open this. Their leader stiffened, calculating. 2 men advanced, dragging Avery closer. The detective leaned toward me, whispering through clenched teeth. He's stalling, giving us a window. When it comes, run. My chest twisted. Run? Leave him. But then I saw Grace's face in my mind, broken, bloodstained, clinging to me in that garage. If I fell here, she'd lose me forever. Avery's fingers danced across the keys. Files exploded onto the screen. Bank transfers, fake identities, photos of Lucas with politicians and mobsters. It was the consortium, exposed in full daylight. The leader's eyes widened, but Avery only smiled grimly. Now the world knows. Before the masked men could react, Avery slammed his palm on a final key. The laptop screen went black, then blazed with one word, uploading. The leader roared, striking him down, but it was too late. Somewhere out there, servers, clouds, inboxes, the rot of the consortium was spilling free. Gunfire erupted, chaos swallowing the garage. The detective grabbed me by the arm. We stumbled into the stairwell, hearts hammering, leaving the carnage behind. By dawn, news anchors were already speaking the words consortium and conspiracy in the same breath. Photos of Lucas, alias Carter Lang, splashed across every screen. And though they spun their lies, though powerful men scrambled to contain the blaze, the fire had already spread too far. I found Grace sitting on the curb outside the station hours later, her wedding dress ruined, her eyes hollow but alive. When she saw me, she didn't speak, just collapsed into my arms, trembling. For the first time since her mother's death, I held her like a child again, whispering, "You're safe now. I promise." She pulled back, tears streaking her face. "Dad, I'm sorry I didn't believe you." I brushed her hair from her eyes, voice breaking. "You don't need to apologize. You just need to live." The world would keep spinning with its lies and shadows. The consortium might never vanish completely. But for Grace, for my daughter, I had fought, bled, and refused to surrender. And though the cost was heavy, our innocence, our trust, even Avery's life, we had survived. Lucas was gone. The truth was out. And for the first time in years, I felt like a father again.